I always think of families as a sort of spectrum. You know, at any one stage in a family, you're functioning better or less good. There is never this family that is always functioning. And so a sudden and traumatic event in a family will, as it does the individual system, implode on the individual system. It will implode in the whole family. And every member of that family will have their own individual way of responding. And within the family system, every person in that family, how they respond may create tension with each other and difficulty with each other, because a teenager may want to go out and see their friends all the time and not talk to their parents. The mum and dad may be grieving differently. So every person does it in their own way. And so in a family system, what helps most is sort of naming together so that you communicate and allow everyone's different way of grieving, every different way of experiencing, so that there isn't, this is the way. So everybody has a voice and everybody is heard. Probably the most important aspect in a family when something so awful happens is listening to each other. It is communicating, but listening is a huge part of it, where each person feels heard. And maybe a young person won't want to talk to the parents, but to allow that too, but to name it. When there's a death in the family, often the adults very understandably want to protect the children and the young people, particularly younger children. But actually, everybody in a family needs the same truth. They need it in age-appropriate language so they can make sense of it for themselves. But what children don't know, they tend to make up. And what they make up is much worse than the truth. And of course, they'll have seen that something terrible has happened. They'll see everybody crying, more people in the house in the past. They might get messages on social media. Their school friends may say to them, so-and-so happened. And if they don't know the same truth, then the people they need to trust most in the world, they'll kind of not trust them as much. And that can cause a fracture. And so within a family, everyone needs the same story and make sense of the same story. And they need to be able to ask questions and name their difficulties. And the way we understand, this is from Child Bereavement UK, which is a really good place for anyone listening to go and get support, is children, and this would be true of young people, I actually think it's true of adults too, is that children need to both be able to grieve and to be an ordinary happy child. So the metaphor we use, it's like jumping in and out of puddles, so that a child can be allowed to be very sad, be comforted, not to be told, don't cry, it's all right, but to be allowed to cry, be comforted, hugged, have a sort of soothing time with whoever's looking after them, their parent or aunt or family friend, and then hop off the lap and go and kick a football, eat an ice cream, whoop with laughter, and then suddenly feel very sad again, and then be comforted again. And so it's this process of adjusting to this new reality that they never wanted by going through the loss orientation where you're grieving and the restoration orientation where you're having a nice time, and the oscillation between the two. Over time, you adjust to this new reality. And children need, sorry, this is the last thing I'm going to say, I'm saying so much, is they need to know the what, the how, and the when. Children need a narrative like we do, of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. And again, what they don't know haunts them. And we should use very concrete terms with children like death and dying before we get to our belief systems about heaven or better place or lost. So using terms like lost or passed away, children lose things every day, so it doesn't mean anything. So for children, they need to be told that so-and-so has died. And that means their body doesn't work anymore. They look like they're asleep, but their body doesn't work anymore. Which sounds a bit brutal, and we don't want to be telling children that. But anything else we tell them actually is confusing and hard for them to make sense of.